Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly Dungeon Master today. Today, we are continuing on with Session 12 of our ongoing campaign playing Paizo's very cool Starfinder role-playing game. And if you are a regular viewer, you may say, Kev, that's not the book that you normally hold up. And you'd say, I would say to you, that is correct, because I finally caved after 7 months of running this and got the limited edition hardcover. Which I just love. So I have upped my Starfinder game both literally and metaphorically. But with me today are the stars of the Against the Aeon Throne campaign. First up is Morris.
Hi, I'm Morris. I'm playing Kat, who is an operative, or a drow operative, I should say. And an operative, for those of you not familiar with Starfinder, is somewhat similar to a rogue, though it does have some aspects of the bard-type skill-based classes in Pathfinder or other Dungeons & Dragons products.
Nice. And next up is Thomas.
Hello, I'm Thomas. I'm playing Zakros. He is a human priest of Pharasma, a mystic of the Lady of Graves, an undercover smuggler, and I try to keep the crew alive, but I had to last time I got my ass handed to me, let's say it this way.
You guys bit off more than you could chew last time. I think things did not go in your favor. Next up is Ingolf.
Yeah, I'm Ingolf. I'm playing Vuldan, who is a soldier, a Vesk, a giant reptilian beast. And he's very unhappy at the moment. So.
And last but not least is Brent.
Hey, I'm Brent. I am playing Tom, the android technomancer and xenoarchaeologist. Kind of looks like David Bowie. Or sounds like a synthetic from Aliens. And yeah.
Okay. So last session, we actually completed the first module in the Against the Aeon Throne Adventure Path. So our stalwart Starfinders have now reached level 3. So the reason we're actually, at the time of recording, we're starting a little late for the session, and the reason was because we were going through and entering everything into the character sheet, talking about the different feats and new powers and whatnot that everyone got. So let's maybe first talk about the things that have changed about your characters. What have you guys gained with hitting level 3, apart from more hit points or a higher attack bonus? Let's go in reverse order now. So Brent, what's changed about Tom?
He's I think this will come out in combat. He's discovered the ability to summon and control robots to come fight for us, and he's also made a connection with the machine god or computer god Triune, and has gained the ability to interface with computers simply by touching them without needing a proper interface. Nice.
And Ingolf, how about Vuldan? What has changed about our stalwart captain here?
Yeah, Vuldan is a little bit he's a little bit edgier now, so he focuses on dealing more damage, on moving away in combat and so on. So I got some advantages helping in close melee combat and striking much harder.
Nice. He does enjoy his melee combat. Thomas, how about Zakros? What's changed about Zakros?
Yeah, he practiced shooting a bit, to hit better, and that seemed to work. And he also has the ability to connect with one of his allies to transfer the damage to himself.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
what else?
Basically, yeah, and he got better with his skills. Yeah, he's better with mysticism, medicine. His profession went a bit better. Yeah.
Okay. So, how about Morris? What has changed about JT Cat?
Well, after my experiences trying to dodge the electrovores and getting hit twice, he's actually quite a bit faster now. all the better to run away from whip-wielding Aslanti officers.
Yes.
He's also got a little bit better all-round on skills, and again, has actually learned how to do more damage with his primary weapons.
Nice.
He's actually in the process of out-of-character choosing a feat. I haven't quite decided yet, and that will be done in the downtime. He's either possibly going to try and specialize in medicine and be a better doctor for the crew,
Sure.
or something more appropriate to shooting and hitting things.
Okay. So the one of the big changes mechanically that happens at level 3, for those listening at home who may not be familiar with Starfinder, is that all the classes gain an ability called weapon specialization. And what that does is it basically, you get to add your level now, or are some classes half your level?
No, it's small arms. Generally, small arms and operative weapons, you get half the level.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you get to add your level or half your level if it's a smaller weapon to your damage. So this is the way that the game sort of models it keeps the math up in terms of scaling damage with your various weapons, because the game everything is sort of keyed relative to certain levels. Geez, I guess it's session 12 right now. So in a nutshell, the first 11 sessions, we're seeing our heroes arrive on the planet of Nakondis, and maybe let's go and take a look at that Nakondis map here. So our stalwart heroes arrived on the planet Nakondis, expecting to just do a delivery. It was just another delivery job, and when they were going to deliver they were expecting also to have an added benefit. And Nakondis, I should say, is a colony that was set up by Abadar Corp, the church / mega corporation that has spread out beyond the Pact Worlds and into the vast to set up a bunch of different colonies. One of the benefits to this particular supply run was that you guys were going to run into an old employer / associate named Sedona, this mysterious android who had given you guys so many tasks before. And then you knew that several years ago she had retired and had relocated to the Nakondis colony. However, when you arrived at Nakondis, you found that with kind of extreme prejudice, that the Aslanti Star Empire, a hostile foreign kind of interstellar political unit, it had actually seized control of the Nakondis colony. But after a great deal of kind of cat and mouse games of fighting a guerrilla warfare or guerrilla kind of action against them, you guys ultimately succeeded in both liberating the town of Madelon's Landing, which is the focus of the Nakondis colony, but also going to the mysterious crashed vessel, an ancient Aslanti vessel that was apparently powered by something called a rune drive. Now, unfortunately, the rune drive and Sedona were both taken away by some kind of Aslanti courier deeper into the Aslanti Empire. But you have heard that a group of not marshals, what are they called? The wardens were going to be arriving. Stewards, sorry, not the wardens, the stewards. And you guys are all familiar with the stewards because the stewards are sort of like roving, cops. They're kind of like interstellar versions of Texas marshals going around and keeping order in the Pact Worlds and elsewhere. It seems that Sedona was a steward, and that in retrospect, you may have been serving as proxy agents for the stewards in all the different tasks that she sent you on. So you now find yourself on your way back. Unfortunately, the success in driving them off did not come without cost. One of the costs was the crushing defeat of our stalwart Starfinders at the hands of a sinister and powerful Aslanti commander named Lieutenant Sharu, and that's what Sharu looks like. Sharu and this enormous curved blade took down all of our heroes and then tried intimidating them, and then left them effectively to starve in the bowels of this powered down Aslanti vessel. But fortunately, some of the colonists and Tom were able to use your ship, the Liberator 2, to drive off the Aslanti vessel, and though the Aslanti left with a pretty substantial parting shot, which is to say they fired some quantum missiles down onto Madelon's Landing. You guys have been retrieved from the rune vessel by Tom and the rest, and that's kind of where we're going to pick things up, is you guys in your vessel traveling back to Madelon's Landing. Now, you're not, by any means you're familiar or incredibly familiar. It's not like coming home to see Madelon's Landing, but seeing it from this vantage as you guys fly in over it, it's the first time you've seen the actual settlement from the air. And this is what Madelon's Landing was like, when you guys were here last. But what in place of this, kind of the structure in the center, the garrison that was set up there, that strange Aslanti structure, is now a smoldering ruin, as are about a third of the structures that are in here. There are blackened craters. The smoke has fortunately gone out from the fires that remained, but it is a clear indication of the devastation that was wrought by the Aslanti before they fled. As a reminder, what you've heard is that the Aslanti, that the result of the Aslanti sort of petulant last strike was the death of probably around 40 or 50 people. So it's unfortunately the victory came at a pretty substantial cost. And unfortunately, Tom, you were just not able to, because you were not fighting, using the Liberator 2 with your regular crew, and just with colonists who had at best passing knowledge of the vessel, you were not able to put up a terribly effective fight against them. It's also the reason why you elected not to pursue them when they took off into orbit. And also because what was serving as your crew was very concerned about the state of affairs down on Madelon's Landing. So as we're going in to this, we see the Liberator 2, and as a reminder, this is what the Liberator 2 looks like. Boom. So it's a little more pockmarked. It's a little more, it shows evidence of the dogfight that it got into with the Barazad, the Aslanti vessel. But it's kind of, arcs takes a wide arc around and begins to, I think probably, where that the road leading in is, I think maybe around there, the bottom left. Boom. There we go. That's around where the Liberator 2 is going to land. Now, as this thing, in light of the events of the last couple of days and how that last fight went, and where you find yourselves, what are you all thinking of? Like, what is? I'll start with you, Mo. What's Cat thinking of as he's getting ready to land in this settlement? No one's really chatting or are particularly ebullient. They're all quite quiet and no doubt processing what they've just gone through. Cat, what are you thinking?
He's just grateful to be alive, but a bit saddened by the destruction and the loss of Madelon.
Yeah, that's right. He died in the attack.
But he's being quite stoic, obviously not really letting much of that show.
Is he just busying himself with his work then?
No, I think I'm sitting on the bridge, monitoring the engineering. I probably had a quick look as we came in, did a quick survey of what the damage was. Maybe before we take off, and I'm just making sure that none of the damage is going to cause a malfunction, and probably mentally making a list of what he's got to fix next.
Sure. What about Zakros? What's going through Zakros's mind?
Yeah, he's thinking about the poor colonists who are grieving now about their loss, and I will try to comfort them a bit and explain that there's not only life, there's also death, and even undeath, but that's another topic. Yeah, he's not really empathic about it, but he tries his best.
Yeah.
to help the
as a he's a priest of Pharasma, who is the Lady of Graves as well too. So you may actually have some a lot of work that you could do here, right? Well, they've also, I guess, in retrospect too, like they, in addition to being the administrator of the colony too, Madelon was the spiritual center of the colony as well too. So that's got to be a pretty substantial loss for the people on Madelon's Landing as well.
Yeah, but they were following the wrong god, you know.
Yeah. That's what I role playing the overly religious person as being aggressively evangelical feels really appropriate. Where's your god now? How about Voldan? What is going through Voldan's mind as he's processing the events and seeing the consequence of this horrible fucking attack?
Yeah, that happens when you lose. So better not to lose the next time. Actually, he's struggling and he's getting a little bit grimmer. So far, war has been fun, but now maybe it's not so funny anymore. And actually, he's blaming Brent because Brent wasn't there, and with him would be an easy win. But there's someone to blame.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So what about Tom? Tom the android. What is he? So what, Brent? What we've
I'm not blaming Brent, but I'm blaming Tom the android.
Okay. So Brent, what we've said is that to explain Tom's absence, basically you were left behind to kind of help with the modifications to the ship and to kind of watch the crew the colonists as well too. And this attack suddenly kind of came out of nowhere. It suddenly was there. You guys detected it while you were working on this vessel, off in the you and some of the other colonists had gone to retrieve it from that biological lab that you guys had first explored. And it was either on the way back or while you were working there is when you detected the Barazad, and you were kind of stuck with this skeleton crew trying your best to drive them off. And it just did not, you exchanged some punches and stuff like that, or some hits back and forth, but you were dramatically outclassed, and they rained. When after exchanging some pot shots in the mid atmosphere, that's when they fired the shots down, or the things down on the onto the colony itself. And in terms of how this would have felt, remember that projectiles in space combat, they're not instantaneous. They move at a certain rate. So there would have been this horrible realization when they fired their whatever it is, the quantum torpedoes or whatever they were, that they would have gone out, and you would have been like, shit, they're going to hit us. And then you realize that it was actually going for the colony, not for you. So we're in that horrible moment where you see that tracking across the screen moment until boom, it hit the colony. So how's Tom been processing all that stuff?
Probably by not focusing on it, and he'll make himself instead busy either doing repairs on the ship or repairs in the colony that he can help out in terms of.
Well, okay, but remember, we're thinking about what you're going through while the ship is coming down. We're in that scene right now. We're not back on the colony. Do you mean he's planning to do that stuff?
Yeah, so I guess he'd just be kind of silent right now.
Okay.
And sort of maybe scanning to see what damage happened and who was hurt, what was...
Sure. So this is, you can see now the actual consequence of this. You maybe made a pass over it before. The fires that you saw before have gone out. The smoke remains from the smoldering ashes. This is all very, very fresh. So looking down, I guess the thing that sort of that probably occurs to many of you is if Sedona had never entered your life, you never would have found yourself in this circumstance, right? Like if this never would have been the place you find yourself, and yet here you all are now. And as you're, the vessel is going around, making its last kind of like approach to land at the vessel, that's when all of your minds kind of drift back, and you think of another time when you had followed through with Sedona's one of Sedona's requests. And in light of knowing that she works for the stewards, it really makes you think of it in a different context. And if this was the movie version of our campaign, we would now see that the frame or the shot kind of transitions to see this, guys. Now you can ignore the giant worm in the background, but what you see is this massive, dusty, reddish, kind of sprawling landscape full of rock formations and dunes. And there's no people in the one we see, but there is that blowing, perpetual ochre haze that hangs in the air. And
I think Zakros cyber eyes don't work because it's a black screen.
Oh, hold on here. Let's see.
You can see it on the Hangout. But,
I know why.
Yeah.
Because I'm a dummy. Hold on. I put on dynamic lighting. There we go, guys. Let me turn off dynamic lighting on each of these. There we go. You might want to hit refresh or reconnect. It's a lesson for those at home. Here, if that doesn't work, let me do this, guys. I'll move you over here, and then I'll move you over here. Boom.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. So what you see is this rolling, dunes before, and we can see far off in the tip of the horizon there, like near where the these kind of the break in the rock formation is. We see 4 fairly large figures making their way along. And as they get a little closer, we can actually see that these large figures are actually not these enormous figures, are not one massive form. They're actually forms that are mounted. And what we see is our 4 heroes, Kat with big goggles on and a kind of like desert robes on, Zakros dressed very similarly to, Voldan wearing this enormous elaborate hat and goggles. And we see Tom the android as well, too. And behind Tom the android, there is a beautiful woman with vibrant red skin and goggles. Her arms cast, around his waist. And what they are riding is a very unusual 8-limbed creature, kind of half reptile, half bull. And this is what they look like, guys. You can ignore the person on the top, but they're... And you're all riding along on this. And what we can see, the red-skinned girl looks back and looks back forward and says and effectively shouts over the wind in Tom's ear, "They're coming!" And at the side of each of these each of the saddles on these enormous animals too, we can see that there are casings, large, like kind of things that like big, 3 foot long or maybe like 1 meter long jugs full of a kind of like briny liquid. And within each of them is what appears to be a floating brain. But on closer inspection, what it actually appears to be is there are tiny, like atrophied bodies that are attached to them. And what you can see, I got a typo in there, is this, guys. This is what's actually inside each of there. These brains, these tiny little bodies, and they're being jostled around, and their little hands are kind of like pushing up against the jars, trying to, to steady themselves against the jostling back and forth of these enormous animals. And that's when we hear the first of the gunshots. And it goes right past one of the things. And you're all sort of like riding along and, you know, making a break for it as fast as these lumbering creatures can go. And then the wave of your pursuers comes around the corner. And what we see is a group of maybe 40 of things mounted on those similar, you know, hideous creatures. Oops. Though not, I mean, hideous. They're cute. And what these things are, keen viewers and people who have been to Akiton before will know that these things are called Zota. And the Zotas are going along as fast as their, you know, 8 legs can carry them. And the pursuers are mounted on the same. And the pursuers, however, you guys seem as children riding like an oversized animal compared to these. These things are enormous and clearly not intended to be the mounts for, you know, for normal-sized creatures. Because what you see is your pursuers are certainly larger. They are 12 feet tall if they were standing, and they seem more appropriately sized to the Zota. And each of these pursuers has an inhuman appearance, big jutting tusks, and 2 sets of arms. One set of arms that hold the reins, and others that hold a variety of crude but very effective looking weapons. Because what's pursuing you guys are Shobhads, the primitive and warlike inhabitants of Akiton's barren plains. Because you see, guys, for the next couple of sessions, we're playing, and we would see at this point the title for these this adventure comes up: Fistful of Shobhads. So we then transition to black, and we see in white lettering earlier. And we now find our heroes riding in a very cramped encounters of an elevator on Madelon's Landing. On what is this? My goodness, wrong screen. What we see is you guys all in an escalator or an elevator. So you're all in kind of like I'm picturing it very similar to like a kind of Star Trek style, like turbo lift. So you guys are all in this thing. You are on clearly on your way to something. The markings in here, unlike the levels of Absalon Station that you guys normally would frequent, this is not, you know, covered in like graffiti, and, you know, the lights are not flickering. This is actually kind of nice. And then you see it comes to a stop, and a pleasant sounding voice says, a woman's voice says, "Arrived, aquatic levels. Those non-aquatic species, please ensure life support is active or taken advantage of." And the door opens up, and there's this distinctive kind of like, you know, wet smell that comes. And what there is an airlock. Like there's a sort of like an initial landing, and then there's an airlock to go in and transition into the aquatic levels. So you guys step out, and where you are is you are on your way to a meeting with Sedona. And every time that you guys have met with Sedona in the past, this has always been in some kind of, it's always some different out of the way place. You may remember that last time you guys met in the middle of this, you know, this beautiful park where there was a Kasathan, you know, traditional band that was playing in the background. This time she's asked you to meet on the aquatic level, where it's a part of Absalon Station that has been converted to specifically suit aquatic species like the Kalo or other kind of underwater inhabitants. So you step out, and it kind of look to it where it looks more like a underwater station. Like if you've seen the movie The Abyss, or like any, you know, submarine, you know, film, that's kind of the vibe of this part of Absalon Station. So there is a kind of a underwater park that has stations set up for air-breathing species, where you're going to go and meet her. So you guys step out. You'll have to make your way through the airlock to, you know, get yourself either use your own what do you call it, life support. But you can also, there are like loaners of things like flippers and whatnot to help you navigate around on this level. So what do we think? What do we see next, guys? As you guys step out, what do we see?
Well, I think I'm going to turn on my environment and then get some swim fins.
Okay. So you step into the up to the kind of dispenser. You hit the like cred chip thing, and it gives you the rental of these things. And these things are designed to basically like affix themselves to your suits, and then they'll like expand when you're in water and then retract when you're not. So you don't have to do that like frogman flap 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 thing as you're walking your way up. How about Zakros? What do we see?
I'm a bit confused right now.
Thomas is or Zakros is?
Thomas, actually.
This is going to be, we are doing, very, very much like one of our first sessions, we are doing a war story session.
Yeah, okay. No, he's just looking around, following JT, get his... environmental suit ready.
All right. How about Voldan?
Yeah, I don't know if I really like water. I think I hate water because you can't fight really in water. So, yeah, okay, it has to be. So I will go in the water and then turn all my stuff on so I can breathe and so on.
Okay. I guess you're weighing over, like, is this a worse time than when she wanted to meet us on the level for methane breathers, or is this better than that?
No, I think that this is worse because with this methane, okay, it's like fighting in space. That's okay, but underwater, I mean, come on. That's
okay.
Well, Cat's going to say, well, at least it's not explosive.
And Tommy Android, what are you thinking?
Well, he's thinking he's going to get it wet. It's not his, favorite, and it makes his stuff wet. And he can't smoke, but I'll rent the fins and stuff. The androids don't breathe, so I don't need the mask. I just keep my mouth shut so I don't get lungs that are in water inside of me. But yeah.
Brent, oh, there we go. Okay, I gotta say, I had to hit reconnect to get your camera working again.
Oh.
Okay, so guys, as you get yourself all suited up, as you've described. You walk over to the airlock. It does this like double check thing. Like you have to kind of like approve twice for the airlock to cycle through. So it closes and then it fills up very, very quickly with water. And then the other door opens up. And what you see is something like this. So it's not like cramped little corridors. It's a pretty big, wide open area. Like they, there's quite a few figures that are making their way around here. In addition to air-breathing species like yourselves who have made your way down here, who are making their way around with fins and whatever. There are also quite a few Kalo. And just to give you an idea of what these look like, guys, these are Kalo. They are inhabitants of one of the moons of Lyavara. And you can see as well, they do have, it seems, a security force, and that's what the security force. They have Kalo equipped with armor and big fuck-off muscles, it looks like, as well, too. So they're sort of going around keeping the peace in here, and you can sort of picture this is what's, there are other, I can't remember the name of them, but they've recently introduced this awesome, like, space walrus race into... Starfinder as well, so there's one or two of them kind of woo, woo, woo. And then there's also a number of clearly non-human species as well too, things that kind of look like sci-fi versions of like porpoises or whales, things that don't have humanoid physiques whatsoever but are comfortable. Sentient, jellyfish are kind of moving their way around. It's a busy, this is a busy area and a busy sort of kind of like a tourist part, I guess, of this level. That to where you're where you're heading is a not too far from here. Do you think any of your characters have been here before to this level?
Not unless I had to.
No, it's probably unlikely.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I
Yeah.
suppose Cat might have because he grew up on Absalon. So yeah, say he probably has visited at least once or twice, maybe.
Oh. I was never here before.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe,
So-
maybe he did the odd job for his Fagin type character when he was a kid.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. So then I think Kat knows where you're going, you know, and if Kat's been down here before, that means he's likely had to swim before. If Vuldan hates water and Tom hates water and Zakros has never been down here and has grown up on Absalon Station,
Yeah.
I imagine it's something like, you know, sort of spazzing out, trying to get, you know, the proper way to get to propel yourself forward in this. And Kat kind of looks back at you guys trying to like walk through the water, I guess, at first. And there was also available for rental these little units that will like effectively pull you along through the water. Do you think you guys may have taken advantage of that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you have that thing and it starts bringing you guys through the water. It's the underwater equivalent of like a scooter. So you travel around here seeing all these unusual species making their way around. You know, and they're up to, you know, it's the sort of like, imagine the underwater equivalent of your average like New York street scene, right? Like there's vendors who are sort of floating in the air who are trying to hawk things to you. You pass like a sentient octopus band that's kind of like playing these drums underwater. And then you pass, you know, well-dressed, you know, young Kalos that are out for, you know, an afternoon in the town. And you reach the sort of the restaurant or the kind of pavilion that you guys are going to reach. And this place, you can kind of picture it being like, it is a kind of a sectioned off substructure. You know, you go through a smaller tunnel and you get to this larger kind of cavernous opening where there's lights that seem to come from everywhere with that diffused, you know, bluish light that comes from passing through water. And within it, there are, you know, floating like, you know, bubbles that have been frozen in space. There are these large circular kind of structures that seem to be made of like a stylized kind of like plasteel material. And within them, there are small floating platforms. And you can see that as you're passing by, there's like, you know, some species that are like, there's, you know, a Kalo and an android and a Kasathan who are all having like effectively like an underwater barbecue. It seems like a fairly popular area. And because you cannot have, that's the only way you would be able to do that.
Yeah.
These things are full of air. Like these are what these bubbles are for, is for the land dwellers to be able to actually eat and interact with people and relax, you know, in these levels. So you guys head down and Kat, you know precisely where you need to get everyone. So all of you are, you know, drawn along by the kind of hand unit to one of these, and you can see sitting within is reading a data pad in front of her is Sedona, because you can see through the translucent thing, and she doesn't seem to make notice of you until you guys surface underneath. And you can kind of picture that the way that you come up into this is that there is the domes themselves are about maybe 70 or 80 feet wide. They go up, and they're both at the same time lit and translucent. So there is a soft light that comes in here too, very different from the bluish light that you see outside. The platform itself has like kind of a rubber or plastic edging to it where you can pull yourself up and get on. And then in the center, there is this beautifully sculpted little bit of like grass. It kind of imagine like a public park, but if you used only the kind of fauna or flora, I should say, all the plants and whatnot that you would find in like the Florida Everglades or a kind of like a swamp. So these beautiful like cattails that are up to, there's these wonderful, you know, deep drooping flowers that decorate the place. And in the middle, there's a couple of kind of like high-tech, you know, coral picnic tables that are grown to serve in here. You get the sense that the Xenowardens may have had some influence over this particular park that tries to capture some of the natural, you know, or combine a surface equivalent of the natural habitat of the Kalos moon. So you guys come up, and some of you, gracefully, more gracefully than others, get up and deactivate your helmets. You can see Sedona is sitting there, and next to her is a fairly plain-looking but stylish, environmental suit, and she's otherwise dressed the way she is normally dressed. And she looks over and says, "Oh, so you've made it then. I trust that you didn't have difficulty finding the park."
No, I sort of smile slightly and look at the others.
Yeah. Vuldan, I imagine, has the look of like a dog that hates getting wet coming in out of the rain. Of like, is that correct, Ingolf?
I don't know whether he's like a dog because he don't have hair, but I think he's just annoyed that all this water stuff. I mean, that can't be good.
Yeah, that's more what I meant. It's just something that was displeased with its current condition.
Yeah.
Okay, so you drag yourself out, and she says, "Well, I know this is the park. This may seem more inconvenient, but I trust that the work will justify such a location." Captain Vuldan, I understand that you are looking for work again. You find yourself between jobs.
I'm looking at JT and probably get the impression that, yes, indeed, we are looking for work.
That's great. I'll give you another Nova point for that. That's great. And everyone starts with a Nova point as well, too, of course. And JT, I'll give you a Nova point for that backstory about your tying in your Fagin guy, too. So you're
I must write him up properly as a send you to.
Yeah. So when as you she says, "Well, that's good because I do have a task for you. Tell me, have any of you been to Akiton before?"
Akiton. Isn't that the opposite environment of this here?
It is.
So what's the purpose? Why are we actually here in this unusual environment?
So I think that as backstory, I mean, I imagine this is sort of what she does all the time. And I think what you guys had discerned before was that because of the constant changes and the places she's going, I can't remember who it was, whether it was Kat or whether it was Vuldan who sort of picked up that she's picking locations that would be really hard to surveil someone.
Okay.
Like you guys always knew there was something. She had some connections, which is why she was always had the money to send you on these different weird tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So you would guess that this would be a tricky place to, just like the park. This is a wide open area where it's easy to sort of see when someone is trying to surveil you. And from where you can see, there's no obvious bits of technology in here either.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be hard to bug something or whatever. But. So what she says then, have you have been to Akiton then, or are you just familiar with the desert world?
That's where the trenches come from, isn't it?
That's where, sorry?
Trenches come from? The ones that live in the trench?
The trenchers? What do you mean? The Yosaki?
Well, yeah. That big vertical gash that they all live in.
Yes, you are. So then you are familiar. Now I don't know if any of you guys have actually been there at this point in your career. You guys do have the ship, so you've traveled around. So I'm not sure if you've been there. I mean, none of you are from Akiton, but you know what? Let's do this. Why don't we have everyone roll a culture check? Let's see how familiar you guys are.
I think I know nothing about Akiton.
God.
All right.
The dice would agree with you, Ingolf. Whoa, Tom, though. Okay, so Tom, you know quite a bit about Akiton. So, I mean, like, that I think with a roll that good, I think you probably are familiar with any of the, headline items that would be out of the core rulebook. So, you know that you know, the native species there are the Yasaki, the Ikeshti, those like lizard men things. There's the Shobad, the four-armed kind of creatures, and there is a kind of a human subspecies called the Hilki. And the Hilki are these red-skinned species, or red-skinned humans. They're otherwise indistinguishable from humans, but they have this distinctive, vibrant crimson red skin. And then they are divided into a number of kind of like subcultures beyond that. They're also,
I think maybe Tom with that role has been there, maybe in the past doing like an archaeological dig or recovering or fencing an item or something.
Well, and so you also know that there is there was two other of ancient species that sort of relate to Akiton. One of them are the contemplatives. And the contemplatives are, you know, it's what you saw before in that prelude scene. Contemplatives are effectively like creatures that have evolved beyond bodies. They are these massive floating brains with teeny tiny bodies that have phenomenal psychic power and a kind of like psychic gestalt kind of hive mind experience. You also know that the Shobad are a kind of like a splinter species from another very, very powerful intergalactic race of this mysterious things that are known now as the Witchweirds. And the Witchweirds are also four-armed creatures that travel the stars. And with a roll that good, I think you also know that the Witchweirds seem to have some kind of connection to the Kasathans. The particulars of that connection, and I mean, the Witchweirds would have been gone long before the gap ever occurred anyway. But there are a bunch of massive, sprawling archaeological complexes there, or like ancient complexes that would be of interest to archaeologists that relate to the Witchweirds. The Witchweirds seem to have left behind, that advanced species left, whereas the Shobads remain behind and stayed in this barbaric kind of state. So maybe you were there looking at some kind of either contemplative or Witchweird, also they're called the precursors, the precursor ruins.
So my response would be, so you brought us to the water level to send us to a desert world.
Well, I mean, if this task is not something you're interested in.
No, that's the opposite. This is the right way to do it. Otherwise, the other way would be wrong. So starting with go to the desert. That's good.
Good. Well, the task I have in mind is something relatively facile. What we need is for I have a colleague whose name is Myri, and Myri requires an escort, and it may require the escort task may require some security precautions. Now, Myri is, if you are not, well, Tom, I take it you are familiar with Akiton. So, where is it here? Did I load it? Did I load it? Yes! Nice. Okay. Allow me to demonstrate. And she taps her kind of pad, and it flashes, you know, up, and there's this thing that appears on it, a ochre-colored kind of like display of the a map of Akiton. So let me just bring you there, guys. One sec. Go. Let me make sure I don't have dynamic lighting on. I don't. Okay. This is the display that you see that shows up. Now this, and she taps it, and there's a thing that come up. This is Hive Market. Hive Market is a... Oh, one sec, guys. Canada Post is here again. Give me one sec. What are they delivering everything for on Sundays? I'll be right back.
Well, should we take a coffee stroke comfort break, because we're about halfway through?
Yeah,
Sorry, doing that.
We should totally ask for an advance too before we go here.
Well, definitely for clothes, because I think we're going to need...
There's Hive Market. There.
Yeah, clothes and gear in general.
Hive market.
We should start with like 50% up front. We'll probably never go for it, but never hurts to ask.
Yeah, but she has never betrayed us, and she never will. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure of that.
But I like to go shopping, so 50% up front sounds better than less.
I was quite confused when she said that this woman needed an escort. Maybe she got... But, yeah, okay.
Well, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to go grab some water.
Me too.
All right. See you in a minute.
Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Well, I guess we're at our hour and a half point anyway. Maybe we'll take
I
our
think
show.
most actually.
Oh, okay. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab more coffee. I'll be back.
All right. I think I'm gonna like this. I really like dark sun environments.
I think that's more like Red Planet or something Mars-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the other hand, you have psychics maybe as well, so
Yeah.
it's more like Dark Sun. I don't know.
And I can defile the ground. No, actually, I can't. Mo, what kind of basic melee weapons do we have there for the group?
Well, on the Condis, I think we had a couple of. Hang on, did I close the? I think we had a couple of tactical knives, and a baton.
Yeah, something I have a look. Because I think I got it wrong with the versatile focus. I thought I have to get it for each weapon individually, but the weapon focus counts for every small arm.
So it's not like weapon focus longsword in Pathfinder. It's every small arm, sidearm, or every basic melee weapon, or every.
But now I have it for melee weapons as well, so I thought, fuck it, I leave it like that, and I just equip a melee weapon as well.
Yeah, I didn't realize actually, because I'm an operative. You use dex for your weapons, so I think he actually was calculating it correctly, but I haven't really used any melee weapons because that's not really what I'm very good at, but I'm actually better than I thought I was at it.
So was there a survival knife, you said, and a baton, a tactical, but that's not good to me, that's better for you.
They're all basic melee weapons, I think.
Yeah.
I've got that dueling sword, but if anyone else would, use it more.
Okay.
I don't intend to close in tons, but...
Did we have more dueling swords or only one?
Just one.
Just one.
So just to get the thing. So we are now moving back in time, but for some strange reason, we have the equipment that we would have had where we just...
Here's another interesting thing. You are going to also have an opportunity to spend whatever you want at Absalom Station, and that will track forward.
That's great.
So, where is it here?
Cool.
You also had, now I'm not sure if you've already included this on your sheet or respective sheets, but I believe it's 4,000 credits you also have from your job at what do you call it? On Nacondas. Let's see here. You would have.
So it's 1,000 each. Is that right?
I'm just double checking the amount here.
Where do
yes, you each have 1,000 credits as well. So you guys can spend that 1,000 credits however you like. We'll let you guys upgrade your gear, upgrade your armor and whatnot too. And we'll be starting the session with when we return to the present, you guys will have all that as well too. I just, this is, I often, I like using these kind of like war stories style sessions to fill in backstory and stuff like that. And we'll just have to just not look too closely at what stats and spells, at the end of the day, I just don't, it's a role-playing game. We're not writing a movie. We're not doing a TV show or stuff like that. So if things don't line up, that you had spells we used in past adventures that you didn't have in the present, I'm not super concerned about that.
Then later on, when we're leaving this scene and we're back on Absalom Station to go shopping, to what level are we allowed to buy stuff? To level 5 or level 3?
Level 3.
3.
Yeah. So what
you're not using the +2 rule?
Sorry, no, you're right. It's up to level 5. That's right.
Yeah.
So I've just put what we have melee weapons sort of in, presumably, the ship's locker.
Okay. But let's finish this scene first, guys, and then we'll talk about shopping. Okay? Because and that's, to be honest, that's something that can be done between sessions. And then we'll just, I'm fine with it being filled in as we go, that you've got this stuff as well. Okay, so and this is just for those listening at home, like this, if we're looking at this too closely, this is it's not gonna make sense. But Starfinder has this thing where all your gear is keyed to a certain level, and to avoid having it feel too much like Borderlands or like a loot shooter, you kind of just have to just not look at it too closely. If what we say is that you guys are purchasing new weapons or whatnot, but it looks exactly like your old stuff, I'm fine with that. Like, we don't need to assume that your characters are like trading up. Hey, thank God I've hit level 3 now. Now I can get a level 3 gun, and trade in your ancestors, whatever the fuck you were using, or your classic, Hans blaster kind of thing. I'm not super concerned about how we're gonna, how this plays in the fiction. The stats are what they are. You got to spend what they are. That's how we have a balanced game. But I'm not super concerned about it. In universe, you guys literally training in a first level set of armor for a fourth level set of armor. So anyway, but I mean, your mileage may vary for those who are running Starfinder elsewhere. What she's called up for you, what Sedona has called up, is this map here. And what she says is there is a place called a hive market. Hive market is this ancient kind of like trading place, like from thousands and thousands of years before the gap. Even that has been a place where the various tribes of Hilki and Shobhads and Ikeshti, with the ones that are civilized at least, they meet to trade, and it's all under the supervision of this really unusual species called the Kulons. And the Kulons kind of look like these like spectral apparitions that fade down to nothingness at their lower bodies. They have glossy eyes and otherwise look mostly humanoid. But if anyone tries to, commit thefts or violence of any kind, all the Kulons attack. Now she sort of, brings up a display of what Hive Market looks like. And here we go. Oh, come on. Roll20 is running quite, even before we went live, Roll20's been rolling pretty slow today. Hey guys, and this is what a Hive Market looks like. Oh, hold on, show players. How about I show players? There we go. There, guys, that's what Hive Market looks like. This ancient meeting ground for all these different species. That is where you will be landing. And then from there, you need to travel to a town called... Oh, where is it here? Boom. Ebbotsburn.
Is Hive Market a moving town itself?
It is not. No,
Oh,
it is a
right.
giant. It's a stationary structure.
Right.
What you're looking at in the illustration there's not actual like a what do you call? Oops, here we go. They're not. Those aren't tracks. Those are actually like kind of like covered entrances. You walk through those to enter into this. This is what the outside is. It's guessed that Hive Market at one point may have served some kind of religious function, but that's well before any memory. If it ever did have that intent, that purpose, it's long since been abandoned, and it's always been sort of this meeting place, the safe place for all the different factions on Akiton to meet and trade under the supervision of the Kulons. Ebbotsburn is just a podunk town of the Hilki that is somewhere out in the. This is what you can expect from there. You can throw in probably some like space aluminum siding buildings kind of stuff in there, and maybe one or two crashed starships that have been repurposed as structures. That's what you can expect from Ebbotsburn. Ebbotsburn is located out in the Kaviri Plains, which are right over here, near the. You know what? I wonder. I think this is actually. You know what, guys? I'm just looking at this. I think I might have grabbed the map from. Let me just compare here from the Different Worlds or Distant Worlds book rather than the one from. No, I didn't. I'm a dummy. That's the one from Pact Worlds. So anyway, what it is it'll be somewhere out in the Kaviri Plains, and the Kaviri Plains are a region where some Ikeshti, the Shobhads, and the Hilki are out there. Akiton before the gap. And again, like we don't know this for sure, but it seems as if it was a very, very corporate structured place where this element called Thasteron was mined, and it made many people very, very rich, and also made people very, very poor who were working in those mining towns. But Fasteron was only really a crucial and valuable element when it was used in sublight travel. With the introduction of the drift drive, that's kind of evaporated. It's not used at all in the production of that. So there are these massive mining settlements and whatnot that have just become ghost towns. And then that has forced many of the Hilki and the other native inhabitants to turn to more, lucrative or more inventive ways of earning a living. What she tells you is that Hilki is effectively like one of those like bandit holdouts. It's a town where it's ruled by, there is a purported law that rules there, but it's really, a bandit town run by this guy named Zadok. And Boss Zadok is, if you find where Boss Zadok is, and just, bear in mind that he's the person who may not want Myri to leave, that's the person you're going to have to be careful of. Now, what you can't just, if you show up in your starship and try and just take her out, that is going to go poorly. They will likely know that you're coming, and setting aside the danger to you, that's also a pretty dangerous thing for Myri. So what I have prepared is we've set up in the Akiton infosphere a backstory that you will be, we have supporting documents to have a cover of you being mercenaries. Zadok may be a ruthless killer, but Zadok is someone who needs, like all, many ruthless killers in there, they're certainly looking for hired help. So our suggestion would be that you show up in the guise of hired help. You'll want to arrive in Hive Market and then travel by a ground vehicle. I'm certain you can secure something there. Travel to Abbotsburn and use that as your cover. Find Myri, get her safely back to Hive Market, and your job will be done.
Okay, so presumably we can land at Hive Market?
Hive Market is open to any travelers. There is regions there for will serve for either local, on planet transport, or for starships to land. Certainly one the size of your vessel, and you'll look no more unusual arriving at Hive Market. Hive Market is a very busy, community.
Okay,
Any questions?
Yeah, what does this Myri look like?
Myri is a young Hilki, and she pulls up an image, and the image is exactly like what you saw at the outset. The young woman who was, or in the prologue, who had her arms around Tom as he was riding that Zota. So she would, I think, in the film version of this, it would be, imagine Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones, or from Captain America, or from Elementary. Small, beautiful, but kind of aquiline features, like really unusual features, with vibrant red skin, big blue eyes, but not blonde hair, dark hair, almost black. Sedona says, "Do you have any questions?"
No, I think that's pretty much straightforward. Just now a matter of discussing our advance and our costs, our cost allowances.
She kind of narrows her eyes, like, every time you try this, pay on receipt, Android. Pay on receipt. Well, she's an Android.
You should know us by now. We're good hard workers, and it'd make our jobs easier with an advance. Make us more efficient.
Perhaps I should be looking for a more efficient crew then.
Where would you get that?
Where was that?
Where would you get a crew like us?
Oh, Zakros. You either think too little of me or too much of yourself.
No, not at all.
So we're dropping Mary off at Hive Market, or do you want to take an off planet? Or does she want to go elsewhere?
If you can deliver Myri safe, or when you deliver Myri safely to Hive Market, she will know what to do.
Does she know we're coming, or have you got some sort of passphrase or something we can show her to say we're friends of Sidona's, come with us or you'll die?
She knows. She knows you're coming. The passphrase to notify yourself will be to tell her that the pillar awaits.
The pillar awaits.
She'll know what that means.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's fine. And she will be willing to come with us.
Is simply an escort. She is willing. It's simply to ensure that she safely travels.
Yeah, okay.
Safely makes her way to Hive Market. Zadok may not be eager to see Myri leave.
The last time we
get concerted with Mr. Zadok, will anyone be upset if?
Sorry, Ingolf started talking, then you started talking, so I caught half of each of you guys. Ingolf, what were you saying?
And just the last time we simply had to find something. There was someone, some vicious monsters attacking us. So maybe it's not that simple. Probably.
It's a dangerous galaxy. Well, Dan, that's why we have full faith in your capabilities. You came back safe last time, and she kind of clapped you on the shoulder. And sorry, Morris, what were you saying?
No, I'm asking Sedona. This chief, presumably, if something happened to him, people wouldn't be that upset. And also, are we the only people maybe interested in Laurie, apart from Zoldan? Sorry, Zadok wanting to keep her there.
As far as I know, Zadok is the only threat. As is often in these towns, there's only there's one strong man. Zadok seems to be the single strong man in Elsburn.
Is she actually in prison or restrained in some way? Do we have to break her out of the local jail?
She should not be.
Okay.
It's simply a matter of making contact and then escorting her off. Mm-hmm. A simple task.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
How simple will it be in credits?
Simple in credits?
Yes. So I mean, how much? I'm not in it for the money, but JT will ask me afterwards.
I am.
I'll just say I'm totally in it for the money.
That, my dear Tom, is evident.
Oh, thank you.
Now, one sec here. What we shall say is, or shall we say, 4,000?
Yeah, sounds reasonable.
I love Voldan's poker face. What? Holy!
I'm trying to negotiate for more, but with a.
See, by my trade, I'm a smuggler. Do you think we could get more out of it?
I think the trait is probably one of the reasons why she's coming to you in the first place.
Of course she is. But
well, tell me this.
Do I have a feeling, like an insight?
Why don't we do this? Let's say, so why don't you give me I think it's diplomacy, right? Okay. Or is that what it's called? Hold on, maybe it's not called that in
diplomacy. Is here, yeah.
Yeah, diplomacy. Yeah. Give me a diplomacy check, sure.
All right.
Let's see here.
Here we go.
So what is it you say to her?
Yeah.
What do you think was trying to butter her up for more?
Yeah, see, the prices for augmentations went up really high at the moment, and with a group with this expertise, it would be appropriate to give us 4,500.
Well, you have been quite active, but it does seem that you're not conversant with the current market rate for the services that are on offer.
All right.
Now, you guys can play on, like, what I'll let you guys, if someone else wants to sort of jump in and try and play it up, it didn't fail so badly that it's shut down things. So does someone else want to try and?
Well, can
Tom,
I do sense motive or culture to check out what we think the going rate is? Because obviously we're working in a slightly grey area.
Sure,
we probably know.
And then
roughly
Tom,
what other people charge.
Tom the android, yeah. Why don't you give me a culture check there, Kat, and then Tom the android, why don't you give me a diplomacy check?
Tom the android knows better to.
Well, you said before. You know what I'm gonna let you do is retroactively try and make a roll here. Okay, so
okay.
Kat, yeah, this seems pretty fair. You know, this seems about right for the what's on offer and what's being asked. Oh my God, Tom.
Well, I'll try and cut in before Tom says something embarrassing and say, well, how about another 250?
A little too late for that.
Hey, I think use that no point.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I have a habit of pissing Sedona off, so I'm really horrible at diplomacy. So maybe this will be the one day I do not bad.
Yep, here it comes. Been worse than before. Oh man, so
Kat tries to nudge Tom in somewhere where he in the stomach, so he stops talking. Just
that's why I realize I'm saying something bad, so I try and correct and make it worse.
So you look down, Kat, you're pretty perceptive, and you look down, and it looks like there's a little case or like duffel bag or like some sort of like waterproof kind of thing that is sitting next to her environmental suit, and you can't help but think, but like, wait a minute, what was in there? And you would you give me an insight check, please, Kat?
Oh,
just because you've been sort of paying attention to this. Let's see how that.
Insight. You mean perception?
Yes, please. Perception. Sorry. Nat 20. Awesome. Okay, so what you see? So it seems clear. She kind of whatever Tom the android has said has clearly put her off, and not just like, oh, I want to like not work with these guys anymore. It's just like this jackass. You get the sense that there was something that she may have been offering you guys and brought along in that duffel bag that she's no longer going to give you.
I just look at Tom, shake my head, and say something like, in Vesk. At this point, I don't know that he knows Vesk, so I say, Egypt.
I say back, what?
Says, Captain, it clearly seems as if you have some discussions to be had with your crew. Please feel free to enjoy the park for as long as you need. And let me know when the job is completed. She steps into her, suit. It sort of seals up on its own. She picks up the duffel bag, hits a button, and kind of the helmet comes over. She walks to the edge of the kind of rubber platform there, taps her foot against the ground, and these flippers extend. Then she spares one last withering look back at Tom the android, and then turns and jumps into the water.
When she turns back, I'll give her a big smile.
Yeah. So, what are you guys doing? You guys are standing around now, and what you see, Voldan, there's kind of something pops up in your feed. You received effectively like an email from, or like a message from Sedona.
Yeah.
She has paid you 500 as an advance.
Oh, yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, so you guys have another 125 each in credits to spend.
So yeah, so look, Tom, it worked.
I know.
Normally, she gives you a quarter of the fee up front.
Yeah, it didn't work so good, but it worked.
Yeah, Tom, maybe next time you let us do the negotiating.
Yeah, I guess my big +1 to diplomacy doesn't help so much.
Okay, hey, there's nothing better in role-playing games than when players do stuff they're crap at, so that's always good. Okay, so you guys would have time to to kind of go around and do your shopping. So if there are stuff that you want to get, if you want to upgrade your armor, upgrade your gear, your weapons or whatever, you're absolutely free to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We've only got about 45 minutes left in the session, so maybe what we can do is, I know we started late because we were doing upgrades and stuff like that, but if you guys do want to pick up gear, rather than updating the character sheets right now, unless it's something that is going to substantially change what your capabilities are, we can just go carry on, and then we'll upgrade your armor. In between. But that should give you an opportunity to get your gear up to snuff. If you are okay now, in terms of let's see here, selling equipment, I don't remember. Is it only 10% as well?
Yes.
10%. Okay. So you can either get 10% or you can break it down into 10% of the UPBs.
Mm-hmm.
But so that'll give you a chance. I guess then what we'll do is we'll skip to you guys being in the Liberator 2, taking off from Absalon Station, and then heading off to Akiton. And as you guys are landing in, let me see here, Hive Market. This is sort of what the interior of Hive Market has grown into. So it's very developed, and this is sort of like the busiest sort of market kind of area. Well, actually, this is probably not at all accurate. This is the one I've loaded. This is more one of the major settlements in that big trench that cuts its way across Akiton. Let me see if I'll swap out here, guys. We scroll down. Yeah, here we go. Let's do this. So you arrive in Hive Market. Do you guys wish to do anything between, when you were traveling and or when you left Absalon Station and when you reached here?
Well, apart from doing any crafting required, because it would take a few days, and we'd probably have time to build stuff or tune up armor. One of the interesting armor upgrades from the armory is effectively you get it custom fitted, and that takes off some of the mods to the your skills. So effectively you get it custom fitted, and effectively gives you one better.
Travel and system is 1d6 days, so we can assume that you're going to have enough time, unless it takes more than a week to craft stuff. You can assume that you guys will have enough time to either purchase or craft the things. I mean, you got mostly credits anyway, so it's probably more efficient to just buy the stuff.
I'd assume we're going to buy serums of healing and stuff, and we'll.
As long as you take it off your money, I'm fine with.
But we don't need to go through and work out exactly how many. We'll just say that we buy at least a couple each.
What about I know they sell you can get data.
Well, Brent, hold on. Tom was talking.
We got 1,000 credits from you. We got 500 in advance from Sedona. Is that right?
That's right.
So, and I have 182 on my character sheet left. So I don't know how much we have, how much JT has for the group. It doesn't matter. I'm finished with shopping anyway. So,
we had some of the rifles, which are basically like hunting rifles, weren't they?
Assume that those will be turned over to the colonists.
Okay.
Yeah, because they need it for their defense.
So,
just one sec. Brent, what were you asking before?
Oh, I was just thing, either the journey to use the sort of HoloNet to sort of research where we're going, or I know I've got an idea, or maybe buy some like data crystals for the communities we're going to be hitting, just so we know them better, or even like
there's not really much. Like, imagine doing a Wikipedia search for some podunk town in the middle of nowhere in the States. You
okay.
know, yeah.
I think it'd be more like Somalia or somewhere like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
If you were going out to a slightly, some of the areas of Africa where, say the border area of Nigeria where they've got that Lord's Resistance Army.
Yeah.
You might know there's a village or a small town there, but you wouldn't be able to find a huge amount.
No, and then the
town is X, and there are possibly so many hundred people living there.
Well, and there's, the Shobhads are very dangerous, violent, roving tribes. The Hilki, who are, have remained there, are pretty dangerous and tough people themselves. And then that's not nothing of the of the non-sentient inhabitants, like the giant sandworms of Akiton, or the carnivorous, bugs and reptiles that populate the place.
One thing it might be worth seeing if we can get some vids or some training stuff on riding those Shobhads. Sorry, not the Shobhads, the
Zotas. The Zotas. Yeah.
Because presumably we want to look.
Well, the Hilki don't. There are some Hilki tribes who, after the collapse of the Thastron market, kind of went native and ride the Zotas. But like high technology still is prevalent there. You could find what you could do is like hire or purchase a beaten old hover thing, or even like a looking in the rule book. What you guys likely could afford is and you don't need to spend this out of your. This will be part of the discretionary funds that you got from Sedona. Where was it? There was effectively like an SUV type thing.
There's a sort of a hover truck thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's just whether we need to prepare ahead of time. But I think if maybe we did some research on Absalom for the right clothes to fit in.
Sure. Yeah. Strangely, it seems that one of the popular native kind of Veskian traits, some of the warriors who have taken to being kind of like, Zota riding whatever, is they wear these elaborate hats with wide brims.
Yeah, I think I want one of those. I mean, it's just you need those to fit in.
Absolutely. And if nothing else, Voldan understands the value of camouflage.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to do anything on the trip over to Akiton?
I think I'm going to polish my new armor.
I'm just finishing. Do you want to know what I bought? Or?
Yeah, sure. If you guys have already done your shopping, go ahead and let me know what you guys got.
Okay, I bought 2 Aeon Stones. Ooh. I keep them hidden on my body somewhere. 1 Aeon Stone, hang on, is able that I don't need food and water.
Okay. Now, don't the Aeon Stones need to kind of like drift around you to be able to be active?
Yes, but now I have my suit, and just in case I get into the situation where I lose my equipment, I keep the Aeon Stones hidden on my body. So I use.
You mean your butt? Like what I call it, the prison pocket
beside the watch. Yeah, beside the watch.
Yeah. And it drifts around you.
Oh no!
Oh god!
No. And the other Aeon Stone is the iridescent spindle, and I don't need to breathe with that one.
Cool.
So I don't need food, water, or air.
Nice.
So then I got an industrial backpack for all the stuff I bring with me. I got 2 serums of healing, MK1, and I got a holo skin. Just that's a projector that I can camouflage myself, disguise myself better. Yeah.
Cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
How about
armor and weapons? There is nothing that can replace actually that makes sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah. And sorry, what was What did you want to ask?
Oh no, as I say, what did everyone else buy?
Okay.
So
Tom the android, what'd you walk away with?
I haven't done shopping yet. I might grab a backpack or an Aeon Stone. I definitely need an engineering kit. Would be nice. Maybe upgrade Alice. I'll get back to you.
Brent, it is really a testament to just how busy you are now that you don't have your character planned out.
I have some ideas. Like I know that, like I'll get the kit.
Yeah.
But
okay. How about Ingolf? What has Voldan picked up apart from?
Yes. No. Actually, it is this new armor. So I bought one of those thin plate armors, and probably no one has told him that usually you wear them under your clothes. So, well, he's polishing it, and he's just so this looks really nice. It's more like so it's like I'm looking a little bit like an android from the outside now, which is weird because I wanted to shine and a little bit metallic, but it isn't just. So
Sure.
I think I'm going to buy a poncho when we arrive.
Nice. So good. And how about Kat? What has Kat picked up?
Well, I was trying to afford carbon graphite armor. I think that might be slightly too much for this. But he's going to buy a couple of healing serums and also the appropriate outfit for traveling in hot weather.
Okay.
And sort of mask, respirator, goggles, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'll have to get back to you on whether I can actually tweak the useful equipment.
Okay.
I'm going to buy some more ammo. Or alternatively, we just go out to the local bodega and piss off the local locals again.
Although you don't want to do that in Hive Market because remember the Kulons will all turn on you then.
No, I meant before we left.
Oh, before you left, yeah.
I think he wants to upgrade the armor, but I'm not quite sure if I can afford it because it's 1,200.
Okay.
I'll have to see if I can sell something. But if it comes to it, it's not a huge increase in my AC, I don't think.
Okay. So you guys arrive in what do you call it? You arrive in Hive Market, and again, Hive Market is like it looks like it's this very dusty, dry, very busy. A picture like a bunch of ancient, like sandstone kind of religious buildings and whatnot, but that have been completely turned over to commercial kind of use by a modern technological society. So there's there's wires and there's like holograms and stuff that display wares. There's a variety of different species that are moving around here. Towering over everything, of course, is some of the Shobhads, those tall, four-armed creatures. And even it's a testament to how terrifying that the Shobhads or the Kulons can be, that even the Shobhads are behaving themselves or seeming to. And these things, again, Shobhads are 12 feet tall. So they, the tallest member of your group, you're barely coming up above their waist. And these guys are, stomping around through the market. And otherwise, there is a vast, like the most prominent of the species that are here are the Hilki. So I mean, picture a human crowd, but with vibrant red skin, and all dressed in that kind of like it's a mixture of kind of like Mos Eisley Cantina with like Mad Max Thunder Road. So a lot of like dirty and kind of mismatched armors and everything is covered in dust. But there's people haggling at different places and different different kiosks around. This place is clearly thrives on mercantile behavior. And you guys indulge in some of that too. And you walk away with effectively kind of like the hover feature is malfunctioning, so it's kind of like Nape of the Earth style kind of transport. If you guys have seen Serenity and the Firefly film, there's a kind of like hover, open to the elements hover kind of vehicle. Yeah, that's effectively what you guys have got. It's kind of like a dune buggy, but if it hovered a little low, and there's enough seats for let's say 6 people in that as well. It's going to require some tender loving care to keep this thing active. For the price that you guys got it, you will need to keep it well tuned. But you have your transport to make your way out to what do you call it? To Ebbitzburn. Now, one of the things also I should mention too, Brent, you were talking about doing research on this, and this is where the impact of the gap can really be keenly felt, is that no one has any idea. Ebbitzburn seems to likely have been named after something, but you have no idea what Ebbets is. It's one of those places where it's got a name that clearly speaks to a proper noun, but no one has any idea why it's got that name.
Okay.
Can I, when we're in Hightown, can I buy basically a toolkit for vehicles?
For vehicles, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just in case it breaks down.
Yeah. I'll assume that's with it. Like when you guys purchased this thing, it was sort of tossed in with it. So it's this crappy old, like there's a, you got to hit it a couple times to get the, electro spanner to work and whatever.
Okay, well, I'll probably spend like an hour or so just going over it, and
okay,
there are things that are going to break. Obviously, can I do an engineering check? Say, okay, we need a spare air filter, or
yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah. Give me a what do you call it? Engineering check, please. Oh, and one thing I've decided on too, guys, is so I've been trying to think over how best in the other games where I use like Astonishing Fortune or Nova Points or things like that. There's more of a direct translation of what happens to those at the end of the session. Normally it's you end the session and then those things are converted over into XP. Say in Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers, I've always thought about having them converted over to renown or to your not renown, your resolve points. And I was worried that those would be a little too powerful. But after our last session, I'm not really concerned about that anymore. So at the end of the session, any unspent Nova points will go to refreshing resolve.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So 17. Let's see here. That means actually that is good enough. Yeah. So like this guy has told you like, no, it'll be fine. Just take it for a test drive. Just a very short one, very, very short one. Not too long. I don't want you to, you're getting what you're getting, but I don't want you to break this thing and then leave me stuck with it's a like seasoned gray furred Yasaki is who you're dealing with, and he's like, no, you're not going to take it out and then break it and then have me be stuck with it. So you just do a careful inspection of this thing. And like, there's stuff that if you had, driven this thing 50 kilometers, it would have shit would have been falling off of it.
Okay.
So what do you do?
Well, I'm gonna say, what are you trying to pull, Tuba?
Hey, there's nothing. There's no need for that kind of language here.
The air filter's like shot. It would blow out within 20 or 30 clicks. So I'll go through the things I found and then maybe get a discount or get them to buy the parts, and I'll fit them.
Everything that you mentioned too, his little whiskers kind of like get agitated and kind of move on his face. It's like, didn't expect you to actually notice that stuff. And he's like, hey, it's not fair to bring a mechanic in when you're trying to buy something from him. Whatever happened to good old fashioned haggling?
As mechanic, 2 mechanics, and then I start going through it as well.
His little whiskers. You know what the Kulans do to thieves here?
Look, it's not just weapons we do,
Well, that's just look. The Kulans. If you're gonna just rob me, I'm gonna call the Kulans. But
what's
fine if it'll get rid of you. And he agrees to the price that you guys had negotiated for, and you guys get that and the toolkit. That's why you end up with a toolkit as well.
All right. Well, I shall make repairs to hopefully last the. Did we ever get any idea of where Evanstown or Ebbets?
Ebbets 40. So it's about 300 to 400 kilometers outside of the out into the what are they called? The something wastes.
Kulan wastes. Yeah.
Kulans. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, I think we need to take a lot of water with us. Maybe get some we get some jerry cans?
Sure. Yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, and stock up and be ready to go for that. You got your life support for.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so anything else you guys want to do in Hive Market
Yes.
other than
Yes.
Yeah,
Obviously, I need a hat and I need this poncho.
Yes.
That is very, very important.
Yeah. So
And maybe our little new friend can show me where to buy this stuff.
he definitely is inclined on telling you where to go, but I don't think you'll like it. He's cursing in Yasaki as you guys are pulling this thing away. But what you are able to find is we'll say that there's a family of, just because I mean this is where they're from as well, and they're mercantile. But there's a Yasaki family of tailors that are there too, you know, complete with little like scaffolding for them to kind of climb up in order to do proper measurements and whatnot too. And they outfit you like a proper, you know, Veskian cowboy. You know, that's so you're ready to, you know, mount up on your Zota and take ride into the thing. They ask, like, have you mounted a Zota before? They can be quite ornery.
Yeah. I don't know. No.
Well, what do you call it? They may look large and strong, but the secret is the belly. There's a Shobhad saying, which is, you know, Rustaf af Hutal, and it's you know, the way to a Zota's heart is through its belly.
That's good. So what are you? What are they eating? I mean,
they are carnivores, but there are. Are you not? This is your first time.
Obviously.
So the she says he kind of looks at your. I mean, you guys do have like basically a cover ID of mercenaries, I guess, as well too. And it's sort of your
what kind of cover? I mean, that's my job.
Yeah. You guys tell me what would be the appropriate. What do you think that you guys are? What is your sort of cover ID for each of your characters? You can assume Sedona has set them to fit with what her understanding of your capabilities are and whatnot. What do you think?
I just wanted to mention that since I raised the cultures rank, I learned Izoki as well.
Nice.
Yeah, because they're of my profession as a smuggler. I think they are involved in this kind of activity.
I think that's a good bet. And I think that Tom could probably tell you that there are roving bands of or clans of Yasaki that move across. They're also nomads, but they're not raiders, they're traders.
Yeah.
I mean, are we really
Yasaki and you? I speak that language as well.
Yeah. Couldn't we be bounty hunters? I mean, that would be really fitting.
You could absolutely be.
Yeah, we are looking to. I don't know, for some bounty on some heads. I don't know, of someone just.
Yep.
Along the way,
and just breaking into it. I understand, and you want to look the part. That makes sense.
Yes,
definitely.
Yes.
This is quite popular with my Veskian, customers too. And he drapes this big, kind of like checked, poncho across your shoulders.
Yeah.
It's very becoming.
Are these snakeskin boots?
No, these are the desert serpent boots, but yes.
Yeah.
So we got so Voldan is as a bounty hunter. Tom, what do you think your cover ID is?
You know what? If we're all going, let's all go then as a group of bounty hunters. It doesn't make some of us to be mercenaries, so I'm also the bounty hunter.
Okay. Do you have a name or a sobriquet that you go by?
Ooh, no, but I will come up with one by next session.
Nice. You guys can all feel free to do that as well if you don't have one on the spot. What about Zakros? What is your cover ID?
You can call me the preacher.
Nice. I thought you were going to say gravedigger. That's great. I love it. Yeah. So you got your little like the traditional Akitonian thing.
Yeah.
You I think can feel free to add to your character sheet a good piece of hickory as well. So, and how about Kat? What is the cover ID for you?
Well, I think we're going sort of bounty hunter, so yeah, similar. But I mean, he's dressed a bit more like the traditional desert SAS, the original one. So that's with the native sort of headdress,
Yeah,
big hat, but obviously more of the goggles and face mask and stuff.
Okay.
I'll have to think of a suitable name.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll start next session with an introduction of our, of our fraudulent bounty hunters. That'll be great. Okay, so then if there's anything else you guys want to do in Hive Market, you can feel free to do that. Otherwise, we'll then cut to you guys, on this hover thing heading out into the desert.
Yeah, I have gone out and got some environmental clothing, which does give you a bonus for heat.
Nice.
I'm going to go and say, look, we need to make sure that we're okay for heat. And obviously, I'll ask Weldan.
I point at my head. I mean, that's why I got the head.
And then obviously we need to go and get supplies.
Yep.
And probably plenty of water.
Okay.
So Zakros, I think JT just told. I think JT.
Oh, sorry, you guys are.
Yeah.
So
Ingolf
go, and then Maurice go.
Yeah, I think JT just told us everyone should get a head.
Yeah,
Against the heat.
I activate my holo skin, and there it is.
Great. Love it.
That's a good trick. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Mo, what were you saying?
I was just thinking, if we're going out there, should we take trade goods if we want to try and impress the locals? The odd bottle of
what
expensive spirits from Castrel, or if we're trying to I was thinking if we bump into some of the Shobhads, what do they like? Is there something we could use to bargain with them? Actually, we might have to do a culture check for that, because
why don't you give me a
knowledge, so maybe he can.
Yeah, sure. Whoever's trained in culture, this will be a little more difficult. So go ahead and give me a culture check. Whoever's got points in it.
Okay. So does who wants to lead and who wants to assist, as it were?
Okay. So Zakros. What I'm going to do is, so with group checks, guys, like the on individual things, I'm going to be using aid another stuff. So we will use the rules as written for that. But PF2 introduces this a way of modeling the hard, where everyone's going to make a roll. So I'm just going to, you guys can feel free to all make rolls, and we'll just look at the highest.
All right.
Because that more likely is going to be someone who's trained in it, who's going to do better in it anyway. All right, so I think Kat, actually, you're the one.
Just for the fun, I'm going.
Yeah, heck yeah. Let's see if.
So wait a minute, that's culture, yeah.
Actually, yeah. So I mean, Voldan. Here's some basic level information that I think Voldan introduced here. So there's the Shobhads. It feels very, very Veskian. That the Shobhads they respect strength above everything else. They do not, they are not so much a trading unless they are forced to participate in it, or they're trying to work as mercenaries. They do not so much, trade as much as take. So strength is what they respect. That seems to make sense to Voldan. Kat, what I think you gain, and Tom, you maybe Tom, you probably recognize that much as well too. What else? Kat, what you also know is that they are definitely known to be raiders. And where you guys are traveling will be the sort of open areas where the Shobhad are known to roam. The one thing though is that the Shobhads also are there's lots of internecine fighting between the clans. The Shobhads don't, they're not a nation. They are a bunch of squabbling tribes here and there, and that's one of the sort of like safety valves for living in the deserts of Akiton, is the fact that the Shobhads raid and attack each other as much as they do anyone else. So that's how much you know about the Shobhads. In terms of what to expect, yeah, like because you are so close to the bounty, which is like sort of a aborted attempt to try and terraform what do you call it? Terraform Akiton. There are these massive worms that seem to sort of make their way around there, the massive sandworms of Akiton. So you're going to want to make sure you keep an eye out for that. And if you do, you run. Or more accurate, I guess, drive. You drive, fly, whatever, as fast as you can away from those things, because they are forces of nature more so than things that can be attacked or reasoned with.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions about Akiton before you guys head out for Abbotsburn?
No, I think we're pretty well set up. So.
Okay. So then you guys are driving along, or you head out into the desert. Let's go back to that thing. So you should be able to reach with the speed this sucker's going. It should be. I mean, it's going to be a long-ish day to get out there, but it should be a day's worth of travel to get yourself out there. As you are traveling, you guys are all kind of chit-chatting. What you guys will have an opportunity to do, though, is let's talk about what your approach is here. What's the plan? You know that Zadok is apparently the boss of this town, the boss of Abbotsburn. You know that Myri has some kind of connection to him. And you know that Zadok will not be pleased with her leaving. What's the plan here, guys? And we only knew, well, we can use Nova points to improvise plans or do flashbacks to fill in things. But what's the broad approach here? What are we thinking?
Just tell we are looking for bounties to hunt, and we are going to move further to the west, or whatever direction we go in.
Okay.
Just moving through and then turning around and running.
Okay. Why don't you go? Let me think here. Why don't Kat? I think Tom maybe, because you've been on the dark side of the law. Give me a culture check, please.
All right.
Oh, which Tom now?
Oh, sorry, Tom the android. Okay, so Tom the android. What in its simplest form? What do bounty hunters do?
We make money by tracking people down and bringing them back.
And what people?
Anyone wanted by someone else. Tends to be dangerous people.
Right, but what precisely does that mean? You guys aren't kidnappers. Bounty hunters presumably are pursuing a bounty. What's a bounty?
It's a, yeah, I guess. So you're talking about, yeah, it's a legal price put on someone's head. So we'd want to touch base with a law enforcement type area, or.
Well, more to the point is you want to. It's someone who has been what? Who is it who has a bounty on their head?
Like,
yeah, this
criminals. So we're tracking down.
Right. So you're showing up in a town run by whom?
Criminals.
Yeah.
we put him.
That's a bad idea. Good point.
No, I don't know. One of the things you do know as well is that Akiton is also rife with corruption. So if you could play, just because you're, I mean, if you show up and you're like, hey, got any wanted criminals around here? I mean, that's not going to play well. But, you know, knowing how corrupt the officials are in Akiton and in these small towns, then you might be able to play that to your advantage. So what do you think, guys? What is the plan for?
So is this what we're telling the people in high market or when we get to Evanstown. I thought the idea was we were going to pretend to be mercenaries looking for work.
Yeah, I mean that might be easier. But
Especially
I mean,
what we tell the authorities in the hive market. We just say we're bounty hunters going out looking for bounty, and then when we get to Evanstown, we can just say, well, we're experienced mercenaries looking for work, and take it from there.
If you want to make it a more maybe palatable thing for the criminals, maybe what you could do is you could pitch your approach as being like, hey, like we obviously don't want to cause any problems for you local folks, but do you happen to know where anyone is who you'd like to see out of the way, taken away? Maybe someone with a bounty on their head. If you're corrupt bounty hunters who are there to basically take like the rivals out, maybe that's a way to still go with the whole bounty hunter theme, but make it palatable to other criminals.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What do you guys think? I mean, I don't want to force you guys to do what you want. Just that it'd be a shame to abandon the bounty hunter thing because it's just so fucking cool.
No, I mean, I think we don't even have to say we are just moving through, and maybe they will hate us, but they will hate us anyway. So I mean,
nice, fair enough. Okay, so then
I don't know. I mean, just so the other people shall decide the things. It's a complicated plan anyway, so I don't understand it fully. I think so.
Okay.
Just tell me when I have to smash someone's head.
Oh, Smash could be your bounty hunter name.
Oh yeah, that is great. Yeah, actually.
Oh yeah, I'll tell them a story about a young vest I heard called Hatchbuster. I'm actually also going to make sure I have a case of cheroots bought at Hyde Park.
Okay.
Just to fit in with the vibe.
You got it. Okay. So you guys come the trip itself, let's hear. Why don't you give me give me a survival check. I think Voldan is the only one trained in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see how eventful the trip becomes.
Oh no, I did take a rank on it last
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah. So go ahead,
so
Kat.
if you want me to
yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I'm not particularly good at it, but
That's
I did fill in
okay.
some gaps last time.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to spend a Nova point. I mean, I have 2 of them. So
Okay. Let's see here.
and it gets worse.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
I think there's a.
Watch out! You're driving into a. the truck goes in a massive hole.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're driving along, and you I think Voldan and Kat are in the front seat of this thing, and they're going along, and Kat, you're looking at your kind of your the timepiece, and you're thinking like, we should be getting a little closer to where we're going.
That is the heirloom that he nicked, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you check your thing, and you're like, I feel like we should have been here by now. And you look over at the captain, who kind of is confidently driving along. He's got his smart new hat on. He's got his poncho that's sort of blowing behind him, along this thing. And you look at him, and you look down, and there is like a little display screen, but it's incredibly it's faded, it's cracked in some ways, it's pitted with scratches from the sandstorms that this thing has no doubt been driven through over the years. And you look down, and the screen is dead, and it kind of flickers on every now and then. And you look, and you're like, Captain, you're not using the GPS on this, aren't you? And Voldan's like, no, of course not. And he gestures on the thing, and there is a one of those dashboard mounted compasses that's there, and he kind of gestures at it, and he gives you a look like, I'm fucking smart.
Yeah.
Huh? And Kat kind of looks at you, and he looks at the thing, and then he taps it with his finger, and then the compass just goes and starts spinning around because it's clearly not working, and it was just stuck. And you're like, oh shit! And
is
that's
there
go ahead. Is there?
No, I was going to say, is there a working data sphere?
The infosphere there is, but unfortunately, in the connection is really spotty out here because of the electromagnetic interference from the sandstorms and so forth. So you can get access sometimes, you can. I think. Why don't you give me a computers check here? Let's see if you can call up the.
Well, I'm going to pull up my take my comm unit and see if I can get a lock on where we are.
Yep.
That one.
Yeah.
So you do, and there's a surge, and you're like, "Oh shit!" So your comm unit is going to have the broken condition until you take some time to craft it and fix it.
Okay.
I tried to figure out as well where we are.
Well, I think hold on. Let's see how he knows, because I mean, you see the two of them talking, and then you see him, and then there's this like spark that comes off of Kat's thing, and problem, guys?
No,
what is that? What is
we're
that?
lost.
Yeah.
What? We aren't lost. I'm just driving as this thing tells me I shall drive.
Okay. So I think as you guys are talking, the what do you call it? You're looking back at where Zakros is, and you're distracted by the thing, which unfortunately you don't notice. Tom, the android, you're the one who's sort of looking forward, and you're like, wait, and you guys hit this point where it goes up, and you guys all get clearance for a brief moment, and it bam slams down and kind of skids back and forth, then comes to a halt against one of these drifts, and you're looking at this thing like, are you kidding me? And like, of all vehicles that can absorb a hit, well, this is absolutely not one of them. And it comes to rest in this weird, like, it looks like there's a bit of a rocky kind of place, like an escarpment that's up on one side where that has sort of been worn by winds over the centuries. And you've gone up one of these things and down in sort of a depression. And this has a furrow that goes off, kind of like a valley, I guess, in one direction and in the other. Oh, and it's full of loose sand, so you think the engine is maybe full of this as well, too. So you're like, oh, it stalls out. And this is sort of when you guys are able to talk to each other like, okay, what's happened here? And you guys are, it seems, a little lost, and the connection isn't working terribly well. Zakros, it looks like you wanted to try and help with something there as well, with the computer, or were you trying to help with the
Yeah, sorry. I thought it was obvious that we are lost, so I wanted to try to figure out because his data pad just
fritzed out. Yeah. So maybe you're going to do that. Tom the Android, would you kindly give me, actually, Tom the Android and Voldan, would you kindly give me perception checks, please?
Mm-hmm.
For the background story, I was thinking maybe we could, that relic that got stolen on Absalom Station from my church. Yeah. Maybe we just pretend we're looking for that relic that one of the thieves went here. Nobody really knows. I mean, there's so many people around here, and nobody should know about these persons, but we are convinced that they're here somewhere and we're looking for them.
Yeah.
That's
I buy that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Voldan got a nat 20 on perception.
Nice.
So Voldan, you're sort of like they're going to start fucking around with electronics, which is not your job. They're trying to get some other data pad going. You have nothing to contribute. So you're sort of doing what all good soldiers do, which is to make a perimeter. And one of the things you notice as you're looking around is that that's weird. It seems like maybe the erosion has carved little like holes in the sides of this whole thing. It's as if there's this whole whatever like valley or cavern, not cavern, what do you call it? Crevasse. Kind of it has maybe there's different kinds of rock that was little tubes, because there's tubes and holes in the side. And as you're looking around, you see a couple of them. There's sand starts kind of pushing out of them. You're like, is the wind picking up in a weird direction? And that's when you see out of one of them comes this like kind of picture something that looks like a combination of like a scarab beetle and a wasp. and it kind of like comes out, and then another, and another, and oh, they're on the other side too, and it seems like they're all sort of coming out and looking down at you. Tom the android, you notice that Captain Voldan is looking at something, and you look up and see this happening as well. Right now, Kat is focused on kind of getting the engine started. Again, Zakros, you're trying to get your data pad to work. Voldan, what is your reaction before we cut to our cliffhanger?
I've never fought one of those before.
Okay, and with that,
and you see the rest of us turn towards them with
a session. All right. So with the vehicle stalled out, lost on the sands of Akiton, and a bunch of carnivorous bugs coming out, we will call it a session, and we'll see what's happened in 2 weeks' time. So, one second, you guys, let me get out of the game here, and then we'll make with the outro. All right. So for those listening at home, thanks so much for joining us for episode 12 of our Against the Aeon Throne Adventure Path in our interstitial adventure, A Fistful of Shobhads. So, as always, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding our campaign or the session or the game in general, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below, or you can reach me on Twitter at Dungeon Musings, or you can reach me by email. My email address is, of course, dungeonmusings@gmail.com. In addition, you can also find me on the Dungeon Musings podcast, which you can find on all your fine podcast platforms, here, Anchor, Stitcher, Podbean, Apple Podcasts. That is more me discussing game theory, or but sometimes I'm also discussing the campaigns that we have, and I think my Pathfinder, this campaign is overdue for a campaign corner episode. So I think that'll be the next thing I'll be shooting for this. In addition, there's a link in the description of this video to something called Heroes Save Villages, and that is the charity initiative that we run on the channel. We don't monetize the channel in terms of ads or Patreon or anything like that. If you are inclined to toss money the channel's way, I'd ask that you consider clicking through and learning about the Heroes Save Villages campaign, which benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, a really terrific charity that is active in over 130 countries, where they help over 80,000 orphan and abandoned children to have a stable and supportive life. So, if you are a fellow Starfinder hero, what hero does not want to try and save a village? So if that does sound interesting to you, I'd ask you to click through and learn a little more about the campaign and SOS Children's Villages International in general. Last but not least, I want to thank my stalwart Starfinder players. So Brent, Ingolf, Thomas, and Morris, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Thank
and
you.
for indulging my diversion to satisfy my belated Stampede idea for a campaign. So thanks, guys.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. So then for those listening at home, thanks again for joining us for episode 12. We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. Oh, that's the last thing I should mention as well, is if you've enjoyed this session and you want to be sure to not miss any episodes, be sure to hit subscribe. And if you want to join us in chat live during the session, be sure to hit the bell icon to know when we're going live. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. And until next time, happy gaming.